Howdy the lads, welcome back to a new video. This time around we are rating transfer rumors again. I've gone around all 20 Premier League clubs, found the most recent or most interesting rumor or confirmed transfer to talk about and give you my opinion on them. Let's go. Starting things off with Bournemouth, obviously they have sold Kirkes to Liverpool by now, meaning they had to go out and sign a replacement at left back. That's exactly what they've gone out there and done. They have signed Adrien Truffert from Rennes, I think it is. Yeah, he's a class signing in my opinion. He's a young French left back. I think he's only a year older than Kirkes is, but Kirkes is a pretty special talent. Otherwise, a club like Liverpool wouldn't go in for him. This is a solid transfer. I think they've only paid 13 million for him, so it's low to zero risk. I'm all for it, Bournemouth. Arsenal are apparently close to completing a deal for Christian Neurgaard from Brentford, and this actually kind of came out of nowhere. I think it is 2 days ago this news broke, along with the Christian Mosquera news, and I think those two signings are pretty favorable for Arsenal, pretty exciting even, I'd say. The thing with Nørgaard is obviously he is 31, but he has Premier League experience. He has experience of playing under a passing mafia like Thomas Frank. So the translation towards Mikel Arteta's system will be a pretty easy one, I feel. He is a see ball, get ball midfielder, which with Thomas Patrick going and Jorginho having already left, you don't really have anymore in the squad. Not necessarily that Jorginho is a see ball, get ball midfielder anyway, but with Nørgaard, you get an experienced passing metronome who is an absolute sturdy defensive midfielder. You have Subimendi, you have Rice. That's some great cover for only 11 million. Unbelievable transfer by Arsenal. Aston Villa have been linked with Gabriel Sara from Galatasaray. Obviously, uh, EFL fans will know him from his time at Norwich. I think he's 27 years of age right now, Brazilian central midfielder who is actually more of a creative midfielder than he's a box to box midfielder. But I do believe Aston Villa would be getting a pretty exciting player here and someone who can cover Yuri Tielemans because that's the one midfielder they don't really have any depth behind. So I think Gabriel Sara would solve that problem if you were able to get him for around and about, let's say, 20 million pounds. I think that would be a pretty great deal. Brentford are linked with Dyson Maeda, and I'm gonna be completely honest with you, I am really worried for Brentford. Not only have they lost the best manager in the club's history in Thomas Frank this summer, they are losing Christian Neurgaard, who they have been overly reliant on for years. And Mbuemo is going to Manchester United. These are worrying times if you're a Brentford fan. Let's be completely honest. Dyson Maeda could be an interesting replacement for Brian Mbuemo. He's nowhere near as good, but he has enjoyed a pretty prolific spell at Celtic. The big question when it comes to Brentford is how is Andrews going to do as their number one coach? Because I get the importance of set pieces, but some managerial experience can go a long way as well. Brighton have signed Kostoulas Karompoulos, Krampulos, Karambulombolos. Brighton have signed Kostoulas Karalampos from Olympiacos. That is a mouthful to get out in one go, but we managed to do it. This is on the face of it, this is kind of a pretty Brightony signing, a player most Premier League fans won't have heard of before, who they are spending money on, and most likely will be able to resell further down the line for a lot more money. But this does represent a tiny step, not necessarily away from the model, but towards the next stage of the model, shall we say, where they are playing 30 to 35 million for unproven talent instead of the 15 to 20 million they usually do. And on the one hand, we have to say that does bode well for how much they clearly rate this Greek striker. But on the other hand, you start to get into risky territory here because if he doesn't work out, it's all of a sudden extremely hard to sell him for any sort of profit, and maybe even you have to take a loss on him. So more risks being taken by Brighton, but I think they are exciting risks, and I'm looking forward to seeing Karampoulos play in the Premier League.
He's done it again! That is a foul!
Burnley have signed Quilinci Hartman from Burnley, and
What I am is I'm fully committed in trying to turn this corner around, and that's what I'll do.
I think this is a pretty great transfer for Burnley. He's definitely good enough to be playing top tier football in England. So you have kind of replaced the weakest position in your defense last season, in my opinion, which was the left back slot. Now you have to replace both your goalkeeper because I still believe James Trafford is coming to Tyneside. I believe this morning, last night, the under 21s of England won back to back Euros, which massive congratulations. Tino Livramento was in the squad, Elliot Anderson was in the squad. They had an absolutely fantastic tournament. So fantastic stuff to see. But our under 21s are back to back European champions. And during the celebrations, I think James Trafford commented on a picture of Elliot Anderson saying, "Away the lads." So Elliot Anderson corrected him to "How the lads," but the fact that he is commenting those things, I think he's pretty keen to join. So Burnley will have to replace. They already have to replace CJ Egan Riley, who has left the club on a free to join Marseille in the Ligue 1. So there is still a lot of work to be done on this Burnley defense, but I think Kulinci Hertman is a big step in the right direction for them. Chelsea have signed Jamie Bino Gittens. I'm not going to waste too much time talking about Chelsea because honestly, when it comes to transfers, I am tired of talking about Chelsea. They have signed left winger number 11 for more than £50, £50 million. They're not going to feel anything of it because they are giving him a 10-year contract yet again, amortization, you get the gist. He's most likely not going to play a lot. I don't necessarily think he is what they need. And again, they have so many wingers that I just cannot get excited really about a Chelsea attacking transfer. This one, however, is a very good transfer. Crystal Palace are linked with Usama Diomande from Lisbon, and I'm gonna be completely honest here. Me as a Newcastle fan is jealous of this link because Diamande would be pretty great for us as well, but he would be fantastic for Crystal Palace. He is used to playing in a back three from his time under Ruben Amorim. He can also play in a back four, meaning he's tactically versatile. He is physically dominant and clearly ready for the Premier League, as well as being just an absolute powerhouse, unbelievably fast as well, and he's comfortable on the ball. I think Diamande would be such an unbelievable signing for Crystal Palace. Everton are massively linked with Villarreal's forward Tierno Barry, and yes, he only has one season of Spanish top flight football behind his name, and is most likely going to cost in the region of 40 million, which might sound like a lot, but I do think all the attributes you'd want in a Premier League forward are there. He's big, he's very strong, strong in the air as well. He's fast, he has a great shot both with his right and his left foot. I think he would be a really great signing for Everton, and if they can get him over the line, not paying out of their ass, which means I think at 45 million you walk away from the deal, but he would be a great Premier League striker. Fulham have been linked with Pepe. No, not the 40-year-old defender. I'm talking about the Brazilian winger from FC Porto. And I think he would suit Fulham quite well. Fulham do kind of like to play with wingers who can also operate in the middle. Think about Iwobi, think about Smith Rowe. I think Pepe would slot seamlessly into that mold of player, meaning they can interchange with one another, create those rotations which we see PSG have so much fun with this season. I think that could be really exciting for Fulham. Leeds United are linked with Union Saint-Gillois midfielder Noah Sadiki, and I think this would be an exciting move as well. This isn't one that's as guaranteed to work out as some of the other moves we've discussed in this video, but Sadiki is a very exciting player. If you watch him play in Belgium, he is more of a defensively minded midfielder, should I say? Not necessarily in the fact that he only stays back because he does do the box to box yards, but in his line of thought, you see that he's more comfortable in falling back into position, regaining possession for his side rather than driving with the ball. I mean, driving with the ball, he's still pretty good at, but it's his final third entries, his chance creation, his maybe looking for a shot, looking to take on a shot himself. That does need some work, his attacking output, so to speak. But when it comes to his defending, when it comes to his work rate, when it comes to his positioning, I think he's ready to make a step up. Liverpool, let's just talk about it because I haven't talked about it, and I mean, I just want to talk about it. Florian Wirtz, wow, he will be playing Premier League football next season in the red colors of Liverpool. First of all, obviously, it's never nice to see a rival get strengthened this much with such an unbelievably talented player. But I think we just kind of have to take the W on this one in terms of our league. The Premier League had seen a small talent drain over the last 2 seasons, I believe. Think of the likes of Kevin De Bruyne who have gone. Think of some players who have gone to Saudi or Harry Kane who has gone. Now, a superstar like Florian Wirtz coming to our league is massively exciting, and I think it can only do the league good. A transfer on the opposite side of the spectrum, however, is Tiani Reinders to Manchester City. I kind of get why they've gone after him. He does remind me a lot of Gundogan in his crashing the box late, in the way he positions himself when his team are on the attack. But let's be completely honest here, the space he finds himself in to score the goals he did score for AC Milan is not going to be there in England. So he's not reaching anywhere near the goal scoring numbers he did in Italy. I am sure of that. I can guarantee that. And then you have to look at his other statistics, and those actually aren't that great for a midfielder. Hence why I posed the question, why did you pay 70 million pounds for someone who loses the ball more often when dribbling during build-up than he um, keeps possession? I genuinely am really baffled by this transfer because I don't think Reinders is necessarily a bad player. I more so believe that he is a player like Jorginho Wijnaldum, who, if used correctly and if his skill set is optimized, he can contribute to this team. But you're never building a team around him. You're never paying 70 million pounds to sign him. I know 70 million pounds is fake money to Manchester City, but still, you have to have some semblance of a what word am I looking for? Some semblance of a frame of reference. And in this case, in the case of football transfers, that frame of reference usually is the money you pay to sign that player, and 70 million pounds will always be too much for Reinders. Brian Mbuemo has told Brentford he would either only stay or move to Old Trafford, and I'm gonna be honest with you, from neither of the two parties, either Mbuemo or Manchester United, I really get it because when it comes to Mbuemo, he had other clubs interested in him this summer, clubs who could offer him European football. Instead, he wants to play at the Theatre of Dreams, and I mean, that I kind of get more because if you already have affiliation with Manchester United, if you supported them when you were a boy, or you want to be the one who restores them to some semblance of glory, I understand that motion. But when it comes to Manchester United, paying 60 million pounds for two different players, so two 60 million plus pound players who were the number one and number two for outperforming their XG last season, is a big risk. because that can have two effects. Either mm, their XG just kind of reverts to the mean, meaning Manchester United still haven't really addressed their XG issues and goal scoring issues, if that were to be the case. Or they drag Manchester United's horrible XG underperformance towards the other way and start overperforming the XG as a collective next season. If I'm gonna be honest, I don't really see the second one happening. I don't necessarily think they will fall off a cliff XG wise, but reverting to the mean sounds more right, because otherwise, why would you have a stat like expected goals if you have players? Basically, what I'm trying to say is it's not necessarily normal for players to be overperforming their XG. You have to be an elite finisher, like for example, Heung-min Son. He has continuously overperformed his XG over his career, but that genuinely is the exception, not the rule. Newcastle United, I have decided to talk about Joao Pedro. If reports are to be believed, we have launched bids for Pedro Elanga and Trafford. I think Trafford's going to happen. Great signing, future proofing the goalkeeping slot. No quarrels at all. Elanga, I think there are cheaper, better options on the wing than Anthony Elanga would be. In my opinion, we should trust our scouting department more in finding similar players or finding players who do similar things, the things we are interested in, that Elanga does, obviously, that is. But when it comes to Pedro, I would actually really like us to sign him. Eddie Howe has expressed in the past his desire to some games play a two up front. Joao Pedro would give you that option. If you want to rotate one of your wingers out, Joao Pedro gives you that option because he can play on the wing. And one of our biggest problems has been our creativity. I think Gordon has been our chief creator over the last season with 1.3 chances per 90. That's not good enough, clearly. And if you watch us play, that is the thing we struggle most with, creating chances from open play when a team is just sitting back, letting us come towards them. Hence why a creative midfielder would work wonders in this team, in my opinion. And I think Joao Pedro could work in that Joe Linton role, meaning you have someone, another player, Isaac, Gordon, and another winger, Murphy, can play off of. Very exciting stuff. The only thing that worries me is that Chelsea, again, look like they are rivaling us for this signing. It would be great if Chelsea could, for once in their miserable lives, just create a short list of their own instead of copying their rivals' short list, because this is genuinely just getting long. Chelsea are signing player after player after player after player after player. And listen, Newcastle fans moan a lot about the PSR rules. I'm not necessarily as opposed to the PSR rules as most fans are, because I do think there has to be some kind of regulation. And I do think it adds a lot more to winning trophies like we did last season. But something needs to be done about Chelsea. Something really needs to be done about Chelsea, because this is ruining the sport. This is ruining the Premier League. And honestly, it is continuously ruining my day when I see Chelsea being linked to good players, because I just know, one, that player's career gonna take a massive step back, and two, fuck Chelsea. Nottingham Forest have been linked with Juventus pair Timothy Weah and Mbangula. Well, it looks like Weah has decided to, at least for now, stay at Juventus and reject Nottingham Forest. But as for Mbangula, I think he could be a very interesting signing for Nottingham Forest. He is about to be, I think, 21 or 20 years of age, maybe. Callum Hudson-Odoi isn't the youngest player anymore. I think he's 26 or 27 years old. There is still a world in which they cash in on either Elanga or Callum Hudson-Odoi, and then bringing a young winger in who is eager, who is hungry to prove himself. Very exciting indeed. And Bangula had a pretty exciting start to the season as well in the Serie A, playing a big role in the first 10 or so games for Juventus, after which kind of fading away. So there is a good player there. I'm interested to see if Nottingham Forest get this deal over the line. Sundershite have broken their transfer records and signed Abu Diarra from Strasbourg. Well, I have looked at his FB ref profile because I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't know a lot about him before seeing this news, and this really is a ball progressor in the middle of the park. He doesn't really do anything defensively at all, like no defensive contribution, which is maybe even slightly worrying if that's the stats coming out of the league and you're going to the Premier League. But he very clearly is the Joe Bellingham replacement. And for what Joe Bellingham did for this side, I think it is okay. But you've kind of spent your Joe Bellingham budget on this one player, meaning that is still a big risk to take. I'm not really sure if I'm a big fan of this transfer. Tottenham are linked and keep continuously being linked with Eberiche Eze. I just can't really see this one happening this summer. I know Thomas Frank is an exciting project to join. That is just the case. I would love to play for a manager like Thomas Frank, but Crystal Palace are going Europe. I think Steve Parish has now sold his 42% stake in Crystal Palace, or not Steve Parish, the Lyon owner has now sold his stake in Palace, meaning they should be fine when it comes to the uh, previous troubles in Europe, as well as the fact that Lyon, as things stand, are relegated to Ligue 2. So I don't really know what that means for their European campaign next season. But if Crystal Palace are playing Europa League football, maybe actually they would be okay with selling him and reinvesting the money into the squad. But you are selling your best player and your talisman, who, especially over the last 2 months of the season, was absolutely unplayable. Do I see Tottenham spending 65 to 70 million pounds on Eze? Maybe. Do I see Crystal Palace accepting it? Also, maybe. If the transfer were to happen, though, I think he would be fantastic for Spurs. West Ham are trying to sign Mats Hermansen from Leicester City, and I really, really, really like this deal because when it comes to West Ham, you only really have a 43-year-old Polish goalkeeper in Fabianski and the human nipple, which is Alphonse Areola. So signing someone who, even though he got relegated last season with Leicester City, was so very clearly at least probably a top 10 goalkeeper in the Premier League, he would be a fantastic signing for West Ham. And he is still pretty young as well, only 24 years of age, if I'm correct, meaning you can have him between the sticks for 10 years, 15 years if he has the longevity Fabianski had. Yeah, fantastic signing, West Ham. I think get it over the line. And last but not least, Wolves have signed Fer Lopez from Celta de Vigo. He is a Spanish midfielder slash wide player who has previously spent some time in the lower tiers of English football, meaning he isn't afraid to get down, get dirty, learn the basic and the ropes of the games. So I think that's a great mentality for a player to have, especially when he's joining a lower end Premier League club who will have to fight for every point they gain. He has already been announced. So yeah, Wolves, fantastic signing. I really like it. Fer Lopez, Joao Gomez, Andre. That's pretty great midfield. Anyways, lads, that was the end of the video. If you did go on to enjoy it, please make sure to leave a like down below. Leave a comment where you discuss the players who have been linked to your club. What do you think of these rumors? Do you agree with my opinion on these rumors? Please go ahead and follow all our socials: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. You know the drill, Magpie 24/7. And I'd like to see you in the next one. Bye, guys.